Welcome back. You can find our next book in the children's section. It's called Vote, Children, Vote. It's a fiction novel for preteens that introduces young people to the concept of voting, to learn the history of voting and why it is so important. It's also a lesson about the power of speaking up, understanding the influence of their voice. Joining me now is Duvalier Malone. He's an author, political columnist, and CEO of a consulting firm for nonprofits. Thank you for joining us. How are you today, Duvalier?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
So this book is dedicated to the late Congressman John Lewis. How did he inspire you to write a book for young teenagers about voting?
Yeah, absolutely. So my grandmother was a civil rights activist in Mississippi. My grandmother marched with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at Tougaloo College. And she, taught me stories about the civil rights movement and the late John Lewis. I had an opportunity to interview Congressman John Lewis and work with him on numerous of projects across the state of Mississippi. And in that interview and over the time and the mentorship from Congressman John Lewis, he left me with some parting words that when my generation sees something that is not right, that is not just, to find a way to get in the way and make some necessary noise for change in our community. We do know that the John Lewis Voting Rights Act is still pending passage. And so I thought, how can I honor the life of the great late Congressman John Lewis? And I said, it starts with the next generation of leaders to make sure that they don't forget their history. And so I wrote this children's book, Vote, Children's Vote, so that children will never forget the legacy and the fight for the voting rights. As we see adults can't get on the same page a lot of times in the Congress or the Senate, I wanted to start to ignite a fire in young people to understand the power of their vote.
And John Lewis called it getting into good trouble. You mentioned the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, which is still not passed, and now with a conservative majority on the Supreme Court. Do you think this legislation will get passed, or what do you think it will take to get it passed?
I think it's going to take us making sure that everyone go out and vote in the midterm elections and the upcoming elections, because our vote matter. We barely have the Senate. We know that. It's going to be imperative for people to get out and vote. In order for the John Lewis Voting Rights Act to pass, in order for Congress to enact particular laws that we are waiting on, we are going to have the Congress and the Senate to do that. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is for people to come out and exercise their right to vote. They cannot get discouraged based on the different legislations that are being passed, based on Roe versus Wade. They're going to have to get out, and this is going to have to motivate them to vote, and not just vote on the national elections, but they're going to have to vote
Vote in their local
in these
elections, the
great.
midterms, the
Absolutely.
presidential, just vote, vote, vote. Which gets us back to the title. The book is Vote, Children, Vote, and it's about a young boy and what it means to vote. What did the young Timothy Rosewater take away from that school lesson? And who is Timothy Rosewater?
Yes, Timothy Rosewater definitely, he takes away. So he came into a foreign school, right? In the book, I talked about how he came into a foreign school and he saw how, his classmates were dominating conversations. And he was a very shy young boy. But in the midst of all of the day-to-day operations at school and through those lessons of his teacher, he learned very quickly that his voice mattered. And I ended the book that's going to be an addition to the books that's going to go to talk about women rights in this country. But Tim, at the end of the book, it's a very good surprise. You got to buy the book. But Tim understood that people understood in his class and they recognized the leader in him when he didn't recognize the leader in him. And so it left with
Duvalier, when you do readings with the kids and they hear the story, what's the most often asked question or comment that they make?
what's so they say what's next, right?
Uh-huh.
At the end of the book, Tim saw his name. And so I closed the book out there. So no one knows what's going to come up with the election, right? And so in part, and I have a part two of the book, we're going to talk about that election. We're going to talk about women rights. We're going to talk about why it's important for young women to have a voice early on in life and giving voice to women as well. But that's the biggest question. They want to know at the end, what happened with Tim. And one of the other things they want to know as well is I've got questions about, who is Medgar Evers, and so a lot of young kids, especially in the DC area, they've never heard of Medgar Evers, which we know Medgar Evers was the, field director, NAACP president there in Mississippi, died in the driveway of his home.
Yes.
With Jim Crow must go, with voting registration in his hand, in his driveway of his home. And so I've been able to educate young kids, especially here on the East Coast, here in Washington, about the life and legacy of Medgar Evers, who's from my home state of Mississippi, which I'm very familiar, very familiar with the Evers family. But that's been another.
We're about to close out the segment. I want to get one more question to you because you have a career in government affairs, but how has storytelling been an important part of your journey in getting your message out?
I believe it's so powerful when you're able to put to print the ability of written words. For generations to come, Vote Children Vote is going to be in bookstores and libraries across the country. And the history of the great late John Lewis will be written and documented. I believe history is important. A lot of times, people say, well, what are we talking about? Why are we talking about January 6th? Documenting history and the actions of history is important for the next generation of leaders. And so the reason why I write is so that history is documented for the next generations of leaders.
All right, Duvalier Malone, thank you so much for being here. The book is called Vote Children Vote. Take care.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, and thanks to all of you for watching. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at CityLine5. And you can follow me on Twitter at Karen Holmes Award. Have a great afternoon, everybody.